Yeah, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red, and once again, it's time for another edition of the In the Dungeon show. Wrapping up a fantastic weekend of the world of sports and entertainment and everything else that might bring enjoyment to our lives. Either I'll touch on it or you have the ability to bring it to the surface of the show by commenting in the comment section. But yeah, I mean, this has been a busy weekend, particularly for me. I don't know if I've ever been on air as much as I have been this weekend. I'm going to pick up my guy, Larry Kruger, for giving me the opportunity to get on a couple of his shows. Saturday morning, and I did a 49er preview show that was, I thought was pretty good. And I also was a part of the 49ers postgame show on the Krug show as well, with a myriad of other thought providers. That's what I call us. We're not experts. We just have thoughts that we sometimes back up with facts. Every now and then there is some emotion as well, depending upon how close you are to the particular teams that we are covering. With that said, this is the In the Dungeon show. We do things a little differently. We're going to talk about what's happening locally in the NFL. So we'll talk the 49ers grinding, gut-wrenching victory over the Tampa Bay Bucs, 23-20. How they got to the W column, we can discuss that, but I knew the game was going to be close. I was listening to some folks this afternoon who thought that the 49ers would win the game with a larger margin. I didn't feel that way. If you look at the statistics, these teams are pretty even. Taking in consideration that both are missing some key players. Tampa Bay more than the 49ers. So I thought the 49ers would win, but it's not surprising to me that Tampa Bay played the 49ers tough. They have a very physical team, a good offensive line, and they got two running backs in Rashid White and the rookie Bucky Irvin out of Oregon that make it tough for teams trying to stop the run. And the 49ers have had problems all year trying to stop the run. Saying that, in a couple of vital series in the fourth quarter, the 49ers stepped up and got things done. And you can look at the final score and say the 49ers should have won by double digits when you consider their kicker, Jake Moody, missed 3 out of 5 field goals. Thank God for 49er fans. He made the last kick to ultimately win the game for the 49ers. But was not a great day for Jack Moody, especially when you consider his replacement kickers while he was injured went a collective, I believe, 8 for 8. So that's not good for Jake Moody, excuse me. The one thing that Jake has in his favor is he has a really, really strong leg, and he generally kicks the ball through the uprights, so there's no kickoff returns. And it might seem like a small thing to, average fans, but it's actually big because the 49ers don't have a great special teams. So do you really want them trying to stop teams that have fast kickoff returners? I don't think so. So Moody's going to be around. I don't think he's going to be cut. I don't think the special teams coach is going to be fired. Just got to grit your teeth, get on the practice field, and get better. The 49ers take on their arch rival and nemesis, the Seattle Seahawks, at home on Sunday. That's a big game. I have to be honest, I didn't think that Arizona was going to play as well as they played this year. But give the credit to Kyler Murray, McBride, the tight end, and you got to give the coach a lot of credit. So no team in the NFC West is a juggernaut, but they're all formidable. I think the 49ers are the best team, but the Rams can beat you. The Cardinals can beat you. and Seattle can beat you as well. So for the next 8 games, literally every game is like a playoff game for the 49ers. It really is. So if you're a 49er fan and you want to talk about what's happening with the team, you can do that, and we can do that. They won 23-23, 23-20 over the Tampa Bay Bucs. Brock Purdy, I thought he was solid today, threw for 353 yards, a couple of touchdowns, no picks. Ricky Pearsall had his best game of the year. Looked very comfortable catching the ball over the middle. And when you consider the tragic beginning that he had to his career, to think that he's made it all the way back and going out on the field and playing confidently, you got to give that young man a lot of credit. The Deebo Samuel's get in your face act of Jake Moody wasn't a good look, but it was just caught on tape. I mean, a lot of times I think fans are aghast when they see real life things taking over in public, but it's intense. It's not right. If you're going to be man enough to try to check somebody, you got to be the first one to allow somebody to check you when you screw up as well. So hopefully Deebo is that type of guy, because he's not perfect. He's certainly not the player he was 2-3 years ago that he is right now. So, he was upset. Apologize and move on. I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest with you. I think the 49ers need to focus all of their attention on the Seattle Seahawks, because they got a great running back who I'm sure they're going to lean on. So this is a big game coming up. So you want to talk 49ers, the NFL in general, we can do that. My guy Bryce Young has won 3 games in a row, and he's not putting up crazy numbers, but he's starting to resemble the quarterback that I learned to admire at Alabama. With that said, I would love for Carolina to trade him to a place that I know he's going to be supported, i.e. the New York Giants. Ironically, a team that they beat in Germany 20-17 in overtime. But I'm happy to see Bryce is starting to get some confidence. And a couple of things that are different this time around as a starter. Bryce Young is running more, and he was apprehensive to run doing his first starting tenure this year. And even last year, he didn't run that much. He's running the ball more now, and you can just tell the game is starting to slow down. That's a combination of Bryce playing better, but also the offensive line is playing better, and they're leaning on one of the best young running backs in football, Chuba Hubbard, who just got a nice $33 million extension. So, I'm not ready to say things are on the rise for Carolina. I don't like Bryce Young there because I think they'll screw him up. And there are a lot of quarterbacks they might be interested in drafting this year. But I'm happy for Bryce. I'm happy that, people are not looking at him like he's some type of bust, because he's not a bust. He just needs to be in the right situation. And, good for him. I'm glad that he's playing better. The Dallas Cowboys, they're done. Jerry Jones doesn't want to admit it, but they're done. And guess what? This is probably good for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to tell you why. No team in the NFC over a long period of time, I forget about the number of years, but nobody wins that division for more than 1 year in a row. It's always somebody new. So this is kind of par for the course. The Cowboys, they don't need to tear the house down, but they need to refurbish it. Because the stairs are crickety. The doors are weak. The window got cracked glass. They need to clean the house up, and they made their job even harder by waiting so long to sign Dak and CD Lamb. They could have signed those guys for less money. So Jerry Jones has to take a lot of responsibility for where the Dallas Cowboys are. And this idea that they're holding on, that they're still fighting for a playoff spot is a complete joke. Everybody knows that. The Golden State Warriors are the surprise of the NBA. They're 8-2. They were 4-1 on their most recent roadie. Nobody saw that coming. Everybody was like, if they go 3-2, that's amazing. They went 4-1, beat the reigning champion Boston Celtics on national television, and tonight they just ran through OKC on the road. Now, granted, Chet Holmgren got hurt early in the game, but OKC still got players. I give the credit to the Warriors. The Warriors' exterior defensive rotations, we haven't seen that in a long time. They're one of the best perimeter defensive teams in the NBA, and I think that's really why they're winning. Now, I don't like to see them losing 30-point leads and holding on to victories, but I'm more impressed with their defense. Their defense has been outstanding, and the one guy that I'm so proud of and I'm happy for is Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga, since being removed from the starting lineup, is actually giving you more production, averaging around 18 points a game. Not many teams in the NBA has a player with that type of talent, which is why he's going to get paid. You know, Joe Lacob, whomever all of the decision makers are within the Warriors organization, they might not regret not giving him the check that he wanted. You know, maybe they feel comfortable paying him an extra $20, $30 million or trading him for something that they want, i.e. Giannis. But Jonathan Kuminga's balling right now. And so are several other guys. Andrew Wiggins looked like the Andrew Wiggins of 2022 that helped the Warriors win a title. He's been balling. Now, we can point to the obvious. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give all the credit to Andrew Wiggins and say, listen, this guy, for whatever reason, realizes that this is the opportunity of a lifetime. He's taking advantage of it. What can you say about Stephen Curry? A marvelous game tonight, 36 points, multiple dagger shots. I like what I'm seeing from the Warriors. I'm not liking what I'm seeing from my Knicks right now. They went from a defensive juggernaut with role players who knew their roles to I don't know what they are right now. 4-5? Come on now. Giving up 130 plus points? I don't like that. My man Keith says, what's up, Frank? Red zone and special teams tried to ruin my Sunday. But Brock Purdy didn't let that happen. Yeah, man. I was trying to think of the name this afternoon, but I got it now. Kelvin Sampson, if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. The head coach of the Houston Cougars. About 15 plus years ago, he was coaching the Indiana Hoosiers, not Cougars, Hoosiers. And he came in, and in his first year, there were some things that he didn't like. And what he said was, he goes, I realized that I can't change everything. I can stomp, I can yell, I can do cartwheels, but some of the things that need to be changed, I'm not going to be able to change everything. The 49ers are not going to get a new defensive coordinator. It's not going to happen. They could fire the special teams coach, but that's very un-49er-like. So I think what they need to do is button it up and fix some of the things. You know, don't worry about advancing the football if you're a kick returner. Focus on catching the ball. Right? Focus on catching the ball. I think Jake Moody is going to be a problem. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is his last year with the 49ers, even though they drafted him in the third round and he has a gigantic leg. And I'm not saying that he won't be a successful NFL kicker, but a lot of times it's not with the club that you think it's going to be with. You can't go 2 for 5 on a team that has playoff and Super Bowl aspirations. You can't do it. So you would assume at some point it's going to hurt the 49ers. So I don't know what they can do, but I thought he was nervous. I mean, a guy with that type of leg, before the injury, he was 14 or 15. You know, you got to be able to deal with pressure. He's missed extra points in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward. Today was a great win by the 49ers because they needed it. Not because it was a Michelangelo special, because it wasn't. But they won the game. Brock Purdy had over 350 yards passing 2 touchdowns. And it was a gut check. And they answered the gut check. They traveled 3,000 miles and played a tough team that can beat you. And they got the win. So big them up for that. Key says, did Debo go too far and should he get fined? No, he didn't go too far and he shouldn't get fined. Now, that's not who I am as a teammate. You know who your teammates are when dealing with adversity. You know, every teammate is not a saint. Every teammate is not your best friend. I played college basketball with teammates that I, quite frankly, did not like, that I got into scuffles with in practice because they were holding me. It's funny, years down the road, I actually talked to one of my teammates online, and he goes, yeah, I was kind of an a-hole, wasn't I? And I laughed it off because it's, you know, it's really not that important at this point. But my point is, things happen on teams. We just happen to see it live and direct on television. And it was not a good look. Debo has to get better than that. He has to be better than that. But fined? No way. He wasn't the only one that was pissed off that Moody was missing kicks. Conversely, Debo's not a perfect football player. He's not. And if he's going to jump on people, he has to have the same mindset and thick skin if somebody wants to jump on him also. It happens. My man Montel Witch says, first time listener. Let's go, Frank. I love it, brother. Thank you for stepping in the dungeon. I appreciate you. Follow me on X as well, at Big Frank Red. It is all good. You know, I love people that tune into my show and are loyal. I love it. But in the same breath, I love to see the station grow and see new people step in and offer their thoughts and critiques and just listen with your ears. It's all good. All right. We're just getting started. We're talking about the 49ers victory over the Tampa Bay Bucs, 23-20. The Golden State Warriors are 8-2 after defeating the OKC Thunder 127-116. Stephen Curry had 36 points, excuse me. Chet Holmgren got big boy by Andrew Wiggins and got, I don't know if he got kneed in the hip, but he came down and he hurt his hip. And Chet Holmgren is an interesting player because he's clearly skinny, but he's not soft. He's actually strong for his size, but he's not a strong guy. So he has to be careful because Andrew Wiggins should have been doing that 2 years ago against Chet Holmgren. And anybody else who is a high flyer jumper, you need to get into the body of these shot blockers, particularly when they're skinny like Chet Holmgren is. You know, so it wasn't a dirty play. It was clean. Both guys had good intentions, but you saw the stare that Wiggins gave him as he walked back down the court. He wasn't trying to hurt him, but he was like, yo, if you want to block my shot, you're going to get all of me first. And it'll be interesting to see if Chet is just as aggressive when he comes back from this injury. Great player. My man Keith says, do you think instead of a Super Bowl hangover, it's more like players, coaches, general manager get paid and get complacent? You got to give me a name. Some players do, but I'm going to say the majority of the players don't, to be quite honest with you. These are bloodthirsty professionals. They love the game. Now, do some players let things slide? Yeah, they do. They do. But they also get old really, really fast. And they get injured. And they're used to waking up and feeling better. And that doesn't always happen. And I'm giving you a perfect example. No one will ever accuse George Kittle of being a Jake. Never. That dude plays 100%, lights out, balls out all the time. And he's a great player, having an all-pro year. But if you look at the pounding that he's taken, you look at his gait, it's not the same. So, I mean, as well as George Kittle is playing this year, I would be shocked if he plays as well next year. And it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because the game is unforgiving. So, answering your question, Keith, there are some people out there just innately, when they get what they want, they don't try as hard. But that is not the foundation of NFL football. And I would say professional sports in general. Most of these guys and girls love the game. That's why they play, because they love it. Look at Stephen Curry. Look at LeBron. Look at Kevin Durant. These are the highest paid players in the game. Giannis. They go hard all the time. I mean, I'm looking at CD Lamb a little differently. I would never say that he's jaking it. I don't know that. But he's not playing as well. Dak Prescott, I think, was kind of in a pickle. Because I think that Dak had already imagined himself being somewhere else. Because he didn't like the negotiations. And I didn't have a problem with that. You know, do I think that he is crying at home now because he's hurt and he can't play? No, I don't think so. I don't. I think that he looked at the Dallas Cowboys this year through a lens of, you know what? This is not a good situation. I'm gonna go out and give it the best that I have. But in the back of his head, I don't think that he felt it was good enough, because it's not good enough. Montel Wish says, I think a number of these guys have cumulative fatigue. They played a hard physical style and through some long postseasons. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yes. I mean, as you get older, your body breaks down. You know, when humans were invented, created, I don't think football was at the top of the list of things that they wanted humans to do. You're going to run into somebody else full speed. Now, I'm saying that knowing that the gladiators, you know, used to live on Earth. Imagine running into somebody in a war with a large sword in your hand and like a leather cap on and maybe some metal in your chest, and that's it. Humans are amazing. I mean, you know, I'm never going to laugh at war because there's nothing funny about it. And our soldiers and soldiers around the world that engage in battle, they know what the outcome's going to be. So, you know, people are courageous. When I played football and basketball, I didn't want to hurt anybody, but I love the physicality of the game. I loved it. And I can say this, when it got to the point where I couldn't play the game of basketball like I wanted to play, when I couldn't be myself, I wasn't one of these people who wanted to hang on. I really wasn't. So it's going to be interesting how long some of these players that are in our consciousness continue to play, because they're getting beat up. They really are. I read that. My man Gabriel says, go Dubs. Absolutely. Nobody saw that coming. If you saw the Warriors going 8-2 after their first 10 games, I'm going to Vegas with you. Let me know when you're going to be in Vegas, because I don't think anybody saw that. RC Rules says, hey, Big Frank, what's up, brother? How's the weather in Bangkok right now? My second home, if you will. My home away from the United States is Thailand. My man RC Rules is in Thailand right now. Key says, Stephen and Kuminga had great games. I'm hoping Kuminga starts again soon. I don't see it happening. Why would you start Kuminga if you are Steve Kerr? Would he prefer to start? Yes. If I was him, would I want to start? Yes. But his production has not slipped. He's actually playing better. And for periods of the game, Kuminga is playing against the opposing team's reserves. And they can't match up. They can't. So the Warriors have a big advantage when they go to their bench. And they got good players coming off the bench, but they're good players. They're not super freaks like Jonathan Kuminga is. And I thought Kerr did a smart thing. Although Kuminga didn't start, he played deep late minutes in the fourth quarter. That alley-oop that Draymond threw him off of the ghost pin down for Steph was brilliant. That's why Kuminga's going to get paid. I can imagine Kuminga in a city like Brooklyn, Chicago. Dude would be a star. He really would. So the Warriors did one thing. They cost themselves another probably $20 to $30 million because he's going to get his money. And to his credit, as opposed to soaking, he's come out and he's been balling, playing his tail off. Aussie Rules says, it's winter here, 92 degrees. How about that? That's nice. Gabriel says, Trace might be better off the bench and swap with Looney. No way. Gabriel, this is the best that Looney's looked in 3 years. I love Skinny Looney. Skinny Looney is basically what Looney has done. He's bought himself an extra 2 years because the out of shape, low vertical Looney that we've watched over the past couple of years that played good basketball, but could only do it for short intervals. Hopefully that guy's gone because Looney's not an old person. What is Looney, 29 years old, maybe? He's won 2 or 3 chips. He's like 28, 29. Go get you a check. Go get a check. I would love to see him on sack. Go 90 miles up the road, an hour and a half. Go get you a check, Looney. To think that this guy could be out of the league at 29 or 30? What? No way. So I'm happy that Looney is being a star in his role. And the thing about Looney also, Looney doesn't play every game. He might play 1 out of every 3 games. And so far, so good. When he's come off that bench, he's played good defense, gotten a lot of loose balls, made some crucial dunks. I love what Looney's giving them right now. As a matter of fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is not one player on the Golden State Warriors right now who isn't playing well. Not one. Can you imagine having a team where all of your players are playing well at the same time? That's amazing. Montel Wish says, I'm from Vancouver and grew up a Sonics fan before we had the Grizzlies. Do you think Seattle gets an expansion franchise anytime soon? Absolutely. And I am so happy for that city. I've gone to Seattle about 5 times in my life. And I actually saw Public Enemy at the Palladium in downtown Seattle. They deserve it. I mean, think about it. When you look at the history of the NBA and you look at fan bases, the Seattle Supersonics had one of the best fan bases in all of the NBA. You know, the Seattle club in the WNBA. I don't know why I can't think of their name right now because I know the team very well. They packed that joint. So yes, I think Seattle is getting an expansion team. They're gonna get their name back, and Las Vegas. Those are the 2 cities. I think down the road, either the Memphis Grizzlies might move to Nashville, or Nashville will get a team. That's kind of what I think. Montel, are you in Vancouver right now? Arson Bruce, what do you think of the Lakers? JJ Redick handling players like D'Lo, lack of effort. The Lakers are good. You know, they got to find a way to find a style that works for them, but they look like a basketball team. And they didn't always look like a basketball team last year. Here's the thing about being a coach. You have to be willing to engage in confrontation when it's necessary to do so. You don't want to walk around and being a coach who's looking for conflict, you know, because that's not good. But you have to be willing to be confrontational and honest with players, particularly when they're not giving you what you're asking them to do, what you are practicing every day. D'Lo, for whatever reason, I could think of a lot of different reasons that I could put out why he hasn't lived up to his full potential, but I don't know him. I don't know, so I'm not going to do it. But I admire JJ Redick for saying, listen, something has to change. Either they're going to fire me at some point, or I'm going to replace you in the starting lineup and go with Cam Reddish, who's not the offensive player that you are, but he's a good defensive player. And it makes the Lakers better. So the Lakers don't scare me if I'm a Warrior fan, but I'm concerned because they have what the Warriors don't have, which is a mountain man inside they can throw the ball to. Now, if AD continues to shoot perimeter shots and he thinks that's how they're going to be the best rendition of themselves, I think ultimately that will lead to the Lakers' demise. So the Lakers are a solid team. I think they can win as little as 43 games if they have a substantial injury, or wouldn't surprise me if they win 48, 49 games and maybe win a playoff series, because their starting 5 is solid. And Dalton Knecht might be Rookie of the Year, talented guy, might be in the starting lineup at some point. Gabe Benson finally is healthy. He's contributing off the bench. I like the Lakers. I think the Lakers are good. I think the Warriors are better because of their perimeter defense. I love the Warriors' perimeter defense. Gabriel says, I thought it was over for him after last season. Can't believe how he improved. You're talking about Looney, right? Are the Cavs a serious contenders? Yes, they are. Yes. I've seen the Cavs before. Way back in the day, a long, long time ago. The Cavs kind of remind me of I don't know what it is, but to be entertaining and do sports talk radio or any type of informational show, you need to have a good memory. The Cavaliers remind me of a team that Larry Brown used to coach, the great Larry Brown. He used to coach the New Jersey Nets. And they had a bunch of upstart players, but they were just young. They had Albert King, Buck Williams, Mike Jaminski, Otis Birdsong. And I don't know who the point guard was at that particular time, but they were just young. And they were good. And Larry Brown came in, they had underachieved, and Larry Brown came in and instilled discipline and a level of confidence in that team. And all of a sudden, they were beating teams in the playoffs. Not because their personnel had changed, because their mentality changed. And when you look at Kenny Atkinson, that's what he's done. He's come in and given them more structure, but he's given them more confidence. Kenny Atkinson, I'm gonna tell you how small this world is. Kenny Atkinson played in my league when I was in high school. Believe he went to St. Anthony's. He played in my league. I never lost to him. Well, actually, I never lost to him. We did lose to St. Anthony's once, but he's from Long Island kid, and doing great things. Good for him. But yeah, they are a serious contender. They are. Montel Wish says, yes, I'm in Vancouver. Niners fan since the 1982 Super Bowl started my fandom. Also a Sonics fan. Hard to follow the team to OKC. I don't blame you. Or the Grizzlies to Memphis. I don't blame you either. I need an NBA team to cheer for. Thanks for the info. Montel, so many of my friends have told me what a beautiful place Vancouver is. I've never been to Vancouver. I know it's worth the trip, but if I go to Vancouver, what should I look at? You know, give me a restaurant that I should check out. Maybe a place that I should see. Give me some info on Vancouver because I think I'm going to go there at some point. Everybody says it's fantastic. Gabriel says, root for the Warriors at Montel Wish. You won't regret it. You know, Gabriel, you're probably joking because, those Seattle Supersonic Golden State Warrior battles were fierce. It's not going to take Seattle long to, rev up that disdain for the 49ers. I mean for the Golden State Warriors. They're going to do it. And, I had a slip of the tongue, but the Seahawks versus the 49ers is a fierce rivalry as well. I mean, the bottom line is Seattle is a great sports city. It really is. The farthest western state, way up there, and yet their fandom is incredible. And I would have to say that as a nod to Montel, that kind of extends up there as well. They're not in Washington, but it makes sense that they would root for teams in that area. So I'm not surprised. My man Keith says, Russell Wilson is good again. Glad he's not in the NFC. Do you believe the Steelers can go to Super Bowl? All right. So I'm not going to pat myself on the back. That's stupid. It doesn't, it doesn't mean anything. But for those who listen to me, you guys know that I've been riding with Pittsburgh before the season even started. It starts with my belief in Mike Tomlin. When they made the change from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson, I said, you know what? I think it's a good move. It's a good move because I believe that Mike Tomlin told Russell Wilson that he would have a chance to start when he came to Pittsburgh. He's a man of his word. Now, if Russell Wilson had become the starter and stuck it up, he would have removed him. But I think he deserved the opportunity to play. Now, the Sean Payton circus in Denver last year was painted in a way that people thought that Russell Wilson was washed up. He was an egomaniac, and he was the reason why they were losing. But if you look at his numbers last year, they got through 26 touchdowns last year. I think he had 26 touchdowns and maybe 9 picks, if I remember correctly. But Sean Payton tried to kill that guy's career because they wanted him to take less money. I'm happy for him. Now let me answer your question. There are teams out there that are clearly better than Pittsburgh in the AFC. I think KC's better. Cincinnati can beat anybody. I'm not saying that they're better in the regular season, but in the playoffs, Pittsburgh has to score points. Getting Mike Williams was a big deal because if you look at today's game against the Commanders, the Steelers were losing the whole game. And what did they do? They called on their big arm quarterback, and the guy that literally couldn't tie his own shoes in New York, Mike Williams, made an all-star caliber catch to win the game. So I'm hoping Pittsburgh can do it because I'm a Mike Tomlin fan, and I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I love how they play football. I love everything about that organization. 3 head coaches in 50 years? Come on, man. I love it. They need some breaks. RC Rule says, fans, after the Dubs beat the Celtics in Western Conference Finals, after the Dubs lost to Cavs, overrated, not contenders. Funny how fans are. Fans are funny. Some of them know a lot about sports too. Only got to meet the Cavs if they make the finals. Yeah, they're not better than Boston. They're just not. Could they beat Boston in a series theoretically? But that would be a major upset. And I'm going to tell you why. 2 things. In spite of the Cavaliers shooting lights out against the Warriors the other night, they're not really a good shooting team. Just not. They have limited range from the perimeter. And here's the biggest challenge that they have. They're not a good passing team. Winston Garland is an average to slightly above average ball handler for a point guard. He's not a great ball handler. He's not. Donovan Mitchell's not a great ball handler, which is why they both shoot a lot of mid-range shots. If you notice, neither one of them consistently gets from the 3-point line all the way to the basket. They can only do it when there's nobody there. But to navigate that terrain within the lane, they generally don't do that. They get as close as they can. They get as close as they can, and they rise up and shoot the mid-range shot. So I think lack of perimeter shooting, 3-ball shooting, and a lack of passing hurts Cleveland. But they're good. They're solid. If you fall asleep, they will beat you. They're good defensively. They block shots, and they're going to play hard. SG, what's up? How you doing, brother? Montel says, best time to visit Vancouver is May to August. Restaurant, Kissa Tanto, Japanese Italian. Love it. If you like to walk, check out Stanley Park and Granville Island. Thank you. Appreciate you. Exactly. Gabriel says calf shooting was a statistical anomaly. I totally agree with you. Totally agree. The Warriors didn't show up, and that's frustrating. But thank God the Warriors have a bench, because when Kurt put in the reserves, they actually made the game respectable. But that first five, they weren't ready to play. It just wasn't. Thoughts on the Broncos losing a heartbreaker 16-14 to the Chiefs? Winners win, losers lose. The Broncos are clearly improved, but there's going to be times in the season when you have to be miraculous. And, you know, today was KC's day. Now, I'm going to say this. The Kansas City Chiefs might be the worst 9-0 team that I've seen in a long time, because I don't think that they're anything close to a juggernaut, which is, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm really concerned, because they could get knocked out in the first round. Probably won't happen, but they don't look like the quintessential Super Bowl contender to me, which makes their success even more impressive, because it doesn't really matter. They find a way to get it done in the most pressure-packed situations. If you just look at if you conduct the eyeball test, Baltimore's the best team in the AFC. I mean, they got players that you can't stop. There are no answers for. There's no answers for Lamar Jackson. Dude's about to win his third MVP. And it's not even close. As good as Joe Burrow is, and Joe Burrow is, dude, accuracy is like Troy Aikman. And I think he's a better quarterback than Troy Aikman. But that's how accurate he is with the football. You know? I mean, it's funny. I was watching some previews for the LSU-Alabama game, and Burrow has like a nickname at LSU. I think he called him Joe Football or something like that. This dude is an absolute legend. But he's not Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson doesn't play well, it's on him. If Baltimore doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, maybe they matched up against Detroit and Detroit outplayed them, because Detroit, to me, is the best team in the NFC right now. But Baltimore is the best team in the AFC to me. You know, you obviously have to acknowledge KC, but when I conduct the eyeball test, if I just watch football, I see ways that you can stop KC. I don't see any way that you can stop Baltimore without them stopping themselves. I don't know how you guys feel about that. We talked about that. Key says, Jaden Daniels looks like a way better player than Caleb Williams. I believe Caleb has bust potential written all over his fingernails. Oh, man. I hope your very astute prognostication doesn't come true. I like Caleb Williams, but he has some sandlot in him. And this is the NFL. You know, the NFL is where sandlot football players go to die. You know, you got to get your fundamentals down. Do I think he's talented? Yes, I do. I think Caleb Williams is very talented. But like Bryce Young showed you, I'm the biggest Bryce Young fan out there. But when you take hits incessantly, it changes you. No matter how tough you are, if you continually get beat up, you start to lose it. And Caleb has taken a beating. I don't know what Chicago needs to do. Even if they have to lose games and slow things down to protect this kid, they need to do that because they're going to lose him. We've seen him make incredible throws. We've seen him read defenses. He's a talented guy, but he cannot take those types of hits. Now, he's not Jaden Daniels because Jaden Daniels is one of the fastest players in the NFL. He can elude defenders. Caleb can't do that. So they got to play differently. The Chiefs are an obnoxious and toxic. Can you clarify that? Why do you say that? Joe Cool, is that what they call Burrow down there? Frank, that's the nicest. What's it? Nicest. Let me put my glasses on. Frank, that's the nicest fit I have ever seen. That's a nice white shirt. You should be a color commentator in the NBA. I mean, you know what? Thank you for the comment. But I was on so many shows this weekend, I was like, I can't wear the same thing on every show. So, yeah, I put a nice little white colored shirt on, and I'm glad you mentioned it, man. I appreciate you acknowledging it. By the way, I actually made this shirt. I make clothes also, big man clothes. So that's pretty impressive. I'm proud of myself. I make my own clothes. I do. So, yep. All right, so we've talked about the NFL, the 49ers specifically. We talked about the Golden State Warriors. I want to touch on college football also. See what Key says. Key says, Bryce is easier to root for. I wish all these guys well, but most of the number one QBs are bust, seems like. It's a crapshoot. I think that there are some characteristics, though, that the ones who are successful really embody. And I think number one is leadership. You know, you have to be a good leader, and you have to be unflappable when things actually don't go your way. And it might not be your fault. You might be in a dysfunctional environment. You know, nobody wants to talk about that, but dysfunction is very prevalent in the NFL and in professional sports in general. It really is. And I learned from a lot of these players because I don't know if I would be mature enough. I probably wouldn't. I mean, did you hear Bryce Young after he was demoted? He said, I have to do better. I got to learn. I got to be a better leader. I got to make more plays. That dude is different. Even this morning, watching the game against the New York Giants, there were like 2 or 3 crucial drops. He literally walked up to the receivers and put the ball in their hands, in their chests, and they still dropped the ball. For weeks, I've been saying that when Carolina put Andy Dalton in as a starting quarterback and had the unmitigated gall and audacity to say that Andy Dalton is our quarterback moving forward, he gives us the best chance to win. I'm like, are you punch drunk? What? Have you seen that offensive line? little did we know, the wide receivers on the team were actually, the ones that were not playing were actually better. They got like 2 or 3 rookies out there catching footballs now. Listen, Bryce Young, I'll ride with him until the wheels fall off because he's expressed the type of leadership that's rare in professional sports. He really has. What's your clothing company? It's called Frank Red, actually. And I'm gonna tell you something. I actually, I'm not really promoting it right now, and maybe I never will. What I found out having a business, particularly clothes, is I found out that I actually like seeing my friends in nice clothes more than I liked making money. And I had to lose thousands of dollars to kind of figure that out. So now at this point, if someone knows that I make clothes or I make suits, I make a lot of different things, and they want something and they contact me, then I just do a deal. I do one-on-ones, but I'm not really promoting my business. Maybe I think at some point I might go back to it, but I don't really have the passion for making money like that. I don't. I like to do things that I'm passionate about. If I'm making money, fine. If I'm not, I don't really care about it. So money is not a major motivator for me in a business, which is bad. If you want to run a successful business, unfortunately, you got to have a laser beam focus on making money. Otherwise, it's not a business. It's a very expensive hobby. But I learned a lot about business, and I know how to run one. I do. Montel says, Frank, have you been watching the Bucs? Seems like Coach Prime has that defense attacking, and now they have a decent O-line. Oh, yeah, man. I played college football and basketball. So I had a more distinguished career playing basketball because I played it longer. But I know football. And I am just so impressed with Coach Prime. I am. Nobody has done what he is doing. Nobody. And there's a lot of people who root against him. Not the networks. The networks love him. The bean counters at the University of Colorado love him. That dude's amazing. And his coaching staff that he has, they're coaching those guys up. Their defense is 10 times better than it was last year. The offensive line is decent. They control their own destiny. They can make it to the Big 12 championship game against BYU if they don't stumble, because they almost stumbled against Utah. Listen, the Colorado Buffaloes are the best story in college football. Not Oregon being undefeated and being number one. We kind of saw that coming. Lanning has done a phenomenal job at Oregon, but they have the means and the history to literally build that house every year. They got Nike's money, they got great facilities, and they got excellent coaches, and 19 uniforms. So I'm not surprised Oregon has made a nice transition. Colorado hasn't been to a bowl game in almost 10 years. They were 4-8 last year. Yes, I'm very impressed with Colorado. I'm very impressed with Travis Hunter, Shador. They got the best wide receiving core in college football. And they're eye candy. I love watching them play. Deion just lets those guys go out and play while holding them accountable. It's a great story. I love it. Montel, what's your take on the Buffaloes? Key says Cooper Flag. Let me put my glasses on. Cooper Flag and Duke look awesome. Are they favored to win it all this year? And who else is in the mix? We got to find out if they're eye candy or not, because we know how talented they are. They're incredibly talented. But, I mean, at the top of the list, you got to look at UConn. UConn runs the most sophisticated offense in college basketball. And they're going to play Duke really well and really hard if they ever match up. I don't know if they play this year. I also like Kansas has more players than they've had in a while. Those transfers that Kansas has, they're real players. So Kansas is going to be really good. The thing about Cooper Flag, and I'm a big Cooper Flag fan, if you will, he's not that heavy, so, he's going to have to show me that he can play a nasty brand of basketball. Skill-wise, he has it all. The probability of him not being really good is small. But Duke hasn't really won anything since they had tough players. They're always going to have talented players, but how tough is Duke? I know UConn is tough. So Duke could be one of the top teams, but I have to see a lot more from them to draw a conclusion about how good they're going to be. But I know they're talented. SG says, I'll wear a suit when I host a show on my channel, and I'll let you rate my show on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm not important. The listeners are important. I'm just one listener. Focus on not what people think of you. Focus on doing a good show. That's all you got to do. Focus on you. Focus on being your best self. The Buffaloes are must watch. I hope they make it to the playoffs. Get to watch Travis Hunter shine in big time games. Yeah, it's a great story. It's just an awesome story. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, Shedeur and Travis Hunter were at Jackson State. And when they were at Jackson State, people were questioning whether or not they could play in a major level college, play at a major level college. And Dion had to do all the talking because there were people taking a lot of shots at his guys. And they didn't like that. But he was unyielding in his support of his players. I love that about him. They said Dion might not be able to coach at this level. All of the Big 12 prognosticators, none of them had Colorado doing anything this year. I can mention some national names that said, well, where are the wins are going to come from? Well, I only see 2 or 3, 4 wins this year. Really? Nobody was on the Colorado bandwagon except the fans and the former athletes, celebrities. They've been riding from the beginning. But the industry folk, no. Can you imagine how much money Colorado has made for the networks? It's been a hit. Montel says, I've watched the Buffs last 2 seasons. This D has better linebackers, yes. The corners play it tight. I enjoy watching that group. On the offensive side of the ball, they have talent at everywhere. Yeah, and I'm going to say this. They clearly have better players, but they have better coaching. to me, the biggest difference in Colorado, they got better players, but I'm going to lean on the coaching, man. The coaching is so much better. They actually hired, I think the defensive backs coach from the Cincinnati Bengals to be their defensive coordinator. Young cat, crushing it right now. And no one's talking about Warren Sapp, but I can't imagine Warren Sapp not having a profound effect on the defensive lineman. Dude's a Hall of Famer. I'm impressed. Now, here's the deal. I don't want to see Deion leave, man. I do not want to see him leave. You know, I know, and everybody knows that Florida State is going to come calling with a bullhorn, a Brink truck full of money, and is Deion going to turn that down? It's frustrating to me because I don't want him to go to Florida State right now. I just don't. You know, let the coach stay there for one more year, get beat up, let Deion prove that he can win without Shador and Travis, and then he can leave. But not this year. When I wear a bow tie with my suit, I look like Ernie Johnson from inside the NBA on TNT. Who told you that? Stop lying. Deion got better assistant coaches than Shanahan. It sounds funny, but who's going to tell you that you're wrong? Not me. They also got Pat Shermer, former NFL coach. Yeah, head coach. Yes. As the offensive coordinator. Absolutely. And know what's cool about Colorado? Everybody on that coaching staff is getting paid. Everybody. That's another thing I love about Deion, Coach Prime. You work for Coach Prime, he gonna get you paid. You know, your bill's gonna get paid. That's lovely. You know, some of these coaches are penny pinchers. Why? Love it. I also was happy to see Jalen Milroe rebuild some of his credibility in college football because Alabama just beat the snot out of LSU last night. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I didn't. But Nussmeier, he can't stand the heat, man. He's no Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's a different type of quarterback, but over the past 3-4 weeks, teams understand how they got to play LSU now. Just light him up. You light him up, he's gonna turn the ball over. So, I like Brian Kelly. He's kind of changed a lot from being at Notre Dame and Cincinnati. He doesn't appear to be the hothead that he was at one point in his life. I think he's a good football coach, but and I think he might have like the number one dual threat quarterback in the country signed to come to LSU. So I think whatever challenges that they're having this year is going to be temporary. I think they got a good chance of winning the national championship under Brian Kelly. I do believe that. Saying that, Alabama just went through those cats. They did. I'm going to actually tell you all about something that I had the pleasure of doing yesterday. On August 20th, the great legend Al Attles of NBA Golden State Warrior fame passed away. Played with Wilt Chamberlain. Mr. Attles was a hero of mine when I started to discover basketball growing up as a kid in New York. I turned the NBA on and I see a coach, Al Attles, fighting a player. I was like, what? And he looked like Shaft to me. You know, leisure suit, big afro. I was like, wow, look at that guy. He was a hero. He was somebody who we didn't see. You didn't see black head coaches in the NBA. Not a lot of them. He not only was a coach, he was a player. And in 1975, he won a championship. He passed away. And as fate would have it, at some point in my life, I moved 3,000 miles away from New York to California, Northern California, and got an opportunity to meet Al Attles. Imagine being a kid having an idol and then you meet your idol. You meet one of your idols. Take it to another level. I became really good friends with his son, Al Attles Jr., Young Vino. And I was invited to attend the celebration of life that took place this weekend. And it was beautiful. It felt surreal, but I was happy to be in that space to honor such a great human being, a civil rights activist, community organizer. He's given so much wisdom monetarily. He died at 87, lived a great life. And this kind of speaks to how great the Golden State Warriors are as an organization. Joe Lacob and Mrs. Lacob were there. Mike Dunleavy Jr. was there. Tom Tolbert was there. Chris Mullin was there. Dusty Baker was there. You guys know how I love Dusty Baker. So and Dusty Baker's, again, I said it before, I'm gonna say it again. Dusty Baker's one of the coolest guys on the planet. Dusty Baker just walks in, three-piece suit on, no security, standing straight up in the air, 76 years old. Dusty Baker looks fantastic. You know, it was an incredible experience to be in that space. The great Mark Spears was there from ESPN. He was there as well. He spoke glowingly about the relationship that he had developed with Mr. Attles. And Sonny Parker was there, you know. So it was a great event. As I said, I'm sure Mr. Attles is looking down from the heavens and with his deep voice, laughing or saying thank you for all of the love that was present in that auditorium. Yeah, I felt very, very lucky, and I'm very honored to have experienced that event. So made my weekend, no doubt about that. Key says the Georgia quarterback is horrible. Same with that defense. Yeah, can't hide forever, right? They were talking about him being the number one pick. Really? I think he's probably talented, but he's having a horrible year. He really is. And, Georgia's falling apart. They really are. But I said this. Remember when I said this, y'all? Remember when I said, when you look at all of the problems that Georgia football had off the field, if you just kind of look over the past 12 months, there's just been a myriad of problems and indiscretions and encounters with the law. You can't run a football program like that. That lack of discipline is going to manifest itself. You know, they got to get that together. They got to clean that thing up, because if your single goal is to go out and win football games and not build human beings that can positively impact society, then you're not the right person for the job. Because you can do it all. You can still win football games. You can make a ton of money, and you can and you can create an environment that has expectations for football players and athletes in general to prosper academically and socially, not only on the field. I'm very disappointed by that, because you're setting these young men up to fail at things that are far more important than football. And I'm certainly not talking about everybody in that program, because most of those kids, I'm sure, are upstanding. But you know when you take chances with athletes. As coaches, you know that. And you make a decision, I'm either going to have this person in my community or I'm not. However Georgia draws their conclusions or makes those decisions, they need to take a look at that, because it's not working right now. Lakers running it down. Are the Warriors a legit title contender? You are what your record says you are. Number 2 in the West. Too early. Are the Warriors one of the most improved teams? Yeah, I think they are. Are they exciting? Yes, they are. But it's too early. I mean, anybody who says, I got the champagne on ice right now, I mean, calm down, relax. They're 8-2. Now, after 20, 25 games, you had a couple of road trips. You played most of the best teams in the league, and you can get a pulse of where you are. But after 10 games, I think it's really too early. Even like you look at a team like Milwaukee. Milwaukee's making the playoffs. I would be shocked if they didn't make the playoffs. That would blow me away. As she says, when I host a show, I'm not gonna. Why you keep saying when I host a show? Do you host shows? Real quick, when's the last show that you hosted? What's the date? What's your take on Sean Kemp? Hall of Fame worthy? Wow. I can't put Sean Kemp in the Hall of Fame. Did he score over 20,000 points? No, he didn't. The last 4 or 5 years post Seattle was kind of a mess. He obviously got paid by Cleveland. No, I don't think he's a Hall of Fame. I don't. I think he's an NBA great. Had a respectable NBA career. But do I think he's one of the best players in the history of the NBA? No, I don't. Was he one of the most talented players in the history of the NBA? Absolutely. Yes, he was. But no, he wouldn't be in my Hall of Fame. No, he would not. Kind of hurts me to say that, but that's how I feel. I think I can back it up. November 6th was the most up-to-date I did a show. How was the show? G. Martinez, what's up? It says Red's fire, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. Indiana football looks great this year. I hope they are and the Bucs make a run in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, man. What's the coach's name? It's Parknetti, I think his name is. He got a great story. Kind of came out of nowhere. Has a different style. And I misspoke. I think Indiana football is as big a story as Colorado, or even bigger. What he's done is amazing. They're 10-0. 10-0. It was good. SG, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to check your show out tomorrow. But see, you can't do things like this. You can't make a post and say TJD went to Indiana. Do you think anybody listening to the program that follows sports don't know that Trace Jackson Davis went to Indiana? You have to stop doing stuff like that because you devalue yourself. I'm not preaching to you. I'm just like, why is that knowledgeable? That's not anything significant. We all know where all the players went to college, at least most of us. That's not information that you should be putting out there. IU has a Canadian QB. Okay. Curtis Roke. He transferred from Ohio. Yeah, as I said. I mean, McNetty, I'm probably butchering his name, but I know that he's doing things differently at Indiana, which is what you have to do. You cannot be conventional. You know, you have to do things differently. And I love it. I'm always a little skeptical of programs that ascend for 1 year. I want to see what Indiana is doing next year and the year after that. That means you got a program. You know, what Indiana is having right now is a moment. You know, we don't know if that reclamation project is a real thing or not. We don't know that. We just know they're having a moment. But it's fun. If you're an Indiana fan, you got to love it. And you can say that about Coach Prime as well. You can. Now, I feel confident that Coach Prime is going to prove a lot of people wrong. But you can make that same case about Colorado. You can. What is Colorado going to look like without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter on the team next year? Rook's older brother was with the Jags last year. Okay. But Curtis has the statue of a physical NFL quarterback. I heard that also. And what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks is do a deep dive on Indiana football and maybe even watch him play, because I haven't really watched him play a lot this year. But I heard that quarterback was good, so I'm going to watch it. Aussie Rule says, against the Dubs, want to see Clay shoot well, but don't want Clay to shoot well. What say you, Big Frank? Yeah, man. I don't want to see Clay come here and stink the joint up. I don't. That introduction, that video montage on Tuesday night is going to be emotional. You're going to see a lot of tears at the Chase Center. And I hope that all parties involved will be able to transition and actually go out and play good basketball. There's a strong possibility that the game actually won't live up to the celebration. But because Klay Thompson is kind of an introvert, he doesn't really share his personality publicly, it's hard to really quantify how important this guy was in the history of the Warriors, especially when you consider how it ended. It ended with them, I believe, offering him less and less money because they wanted to move on. I was a proponent in him staying, but I have to be honest. It was best for him to leave, and it was best for the Warriors to move on. I'm with you. I want to see Clay play well, Aussie Rules, but I want to see the Warriors win. But I do want to see him play well. I don't want to see Buddy Hield profoundly outplaying Klay Thompson on his night. I don't want to see that. Key says SGA is such an unusual player in today's NBA. Who would you say he reminds you of back in the day? He's a hard comp. I'm gonna say, and he was a point guard on that New Jersey Nets team. Michael Ray Richardson, Sugar. They call him Sugar. Michael Ray played for the Knicks too. He kind of reminds me of Michael Ray Richardson a little bit. Michael Ray Richardson was 6'5". SGA is 6'6". The thing that bothers me about SGA, and a lot of his fanboys don't want to hear this, his usage rate is too high. And even tonight, the dribble into a shot, get to the basket, he has to work too hard. You know, he needs to improve his shooting. He shoots somewhere between 35 and 37% from three. That's not good enough. It's not. When the ball's in your hands that much, he basically has no catch and shoot game. So Michael Ray Richardson would shoot more threes. In an era in which they didn't shoot threes, Michael Ray Richardson, University of Montana fame, he shot more threes. I think if SGA finds a way to improve his three-point shooting to the point where it's 40%, he'd be the MVP in the league. But his usage rate is too high. It's just too high. You know, even tonight against the Warriors, because he pounds the ball, the Warriors were able to load up on him. And when they wanted to stop him, they could get the ball out of his hands. So I'm looking at his coach and I'm saying, you know, Mark Dayball, I guess his name is. I'm not quite sure of his name. He's done a really good job with that team. But for SGA's personal improvement, his usage rate has to go down and his three-point shooting percentage needs to go up, and he needs to take more threes. I could be an NBA scout. I know. I love scouting. Scouting is one of my, I love evaluating players. I love that. Love it. That's a great nickname, Sugar. Yeah, that was his name. I bet he moves were sweet. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. He had a well-documented drug problem that, to the extent that he got kicked out of the NBA. And what did he do? He went over to Australia and became a legend. Yeah. Michael Ray Richardson. Look him up. One of the great players in the history of the NBA. And SGA is like a comp 2.0 to him, to me. Montel says, I need to jump. I have an early flight tomorrow. Enjoyed the show. Thank you, brother. We're going to break down in a couple of minutes anyway, but I really appreciate you stepping in the dungeon. Follow me on X, at Big Frank Red, and hopefully you hit the like button and you subscribe to the show. All right, I got one more thing to do, and I'm going to get out of here. Got a chance to watch a movie this weekend called Juror Number 2. And it's a movie by Clint Eastwood. And off the rip, Clint Eastwood does not make bad movies. All right. And Juror Number 2 is dripping with suspense, kind of a courtroom drama, the old traditional vein. And what it does is it really makes you leave the theater checking your own moral compass. And it takes a look at the injustices of our legal system. And we're not only taking a look at it, but you are going through a process of rationalizing your ethics and your sensibilities. That's why the movie's good. It covers all of those bases. And if you like movies, you like suspense, you like courtroom dramas, you might want to check that movie out. It's called Juror Number 2 by Clint Eastwood, the great Clint Eastwood. 95 years old at this point, still doing great things in the arts. All right, my name is Frank Red, everybody. We've been on air for 90 minutes. That's which is what I wanted to do tonight. I thank everybody for tuning in. I'm excited to see how the likes are for the show because I can't see it. Hopefully you guys blew that up for me because I really need you to run these numbers up. And yeah, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me on X. I'm going to do my thing and get out of here. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. All right. My name is Frank Red. Everybody be safe, and maybe I'll pop in the dungeon throughout the week. If not, you can check me out at 9 o'clock on Sunday nights right here on the In the Dungeon Show channel. All right. Peace. Good night, everybody.